Hello everyone. Now before some of y'all bum rush the comment section like there's a Black Friday special on writing crash out comments prior to even watching the video, first of all, I have a ton of hours in Elden Ring and it's one of my favorite games ever. This does not, however, make me blind to the fact that a game can be great, but not perfect or free from flaws. And these flaws are more prevalent and unique, especially from the perspective of new players, not only to Elden Ring, but to the Souls genre in general. And since I fall in that category, that's how this list came about. The top 10 things that suck in Elden Ring from the perspective of new Souls players. You watching Mr. Let Me Talk, so let's talk about it. And at number 10, exhausting the dialogue. So in most games, when you interact with the NPC, they tell you everything about your quest location, mission objectives, or just general world building exposition. However, not in Elden Ring. I can't tell you how many times in my first playthrough, I spoke to an NPC, and once they stopped yapping, I just hopped, skipped, and skedaddled out of the way, thinking, well, that should be it, right? And look, that in of itself wouldn't be an issue if it was just fluff, inconsequential dialogue that has no bearing to the story progression. But you can literally miss whole quest lines and even alternate endings just by not exhausting NPC dialogue. Oh, you didn't try talking to the Rani doll a million times? Well then screw you, I guess, because you're not finishing that quest line. And that leads me perfectly to the next point. Number 9. Cryptic quest and NPC locations. So let's assume as a first-time Souls gamer that you figured out the whole exhausting dialogue nonsense. Well then, here's another hurdle for you to jump. The NPCs can switch their location from one area to another random spot on the map. This wouldn't pose such an issue in a linear game where the NPC placement would be in an area where you'd likely bump into them, but in an open world game where an NPC can literally be anywhere, that becomes extremely confusing. Elden Ring does, however, mark the NPCs on the map, but only once you've interacted with them. But if they relocate, then the map doesn't show you where they went. And why? Well, fuck you, that's why. I don't think there's a better example of this than Hyeta's quest line. You first run into Hyeta in the Weeping Peninsula, where you find out she has a weird dietary choice mainly made up of burning eyeballs. Not only do you have to keep on finding more eyeballs to feed her sadistic cravings, and good luck finding all of those as a new player, but Hyeta literally disappears to 5 different locations on the map, and you have to find her each and every time. This is frustrating for someone new to this game and genre, and it adds on to the overwhelming feeling of quests going nowhere and being lost. And at number 8, repeating bosses. Now, most games of this size are bound to have repeating bosses in some shape or form. So fighting Radon twice, once in Caelid and next when he's wearing Miquella as a backpack, kinda makes sense, taking into consideration he was resurrected and all. However, the first time you see Godfroy in the Everjail, you're like, wait, what? That's Godric. Same weapon, same moveset.
They copy my whole fucking flow! Oh, word for word, bar for bar!
That not only feeds into the trope of reused bosses, but just adds to the confusion when there's no clearly communicated story reason for the same boss appearing twice and looking exactly the same, barring a name change, of course. And I think there's some obscure reason or some obscure lore about Godric and Godfroy being related, but that is definitely not something you're likely to get in your first playthrough. Just imagine how jarring it would be if you got to the final fight in the DLC against Miquella, and instead of Radon popping up, it's his long-lost, never-before-mentioned brother, Redaniel. And there's other less egregious culprits like Ghost Loretta and Real Loretta and Ghost Godfrey and Real Godfrey, Margit and Morgott, who actually you technically fight like 3 times if you stick around long enough to watch him take over this old man's body like he's in the Matrix. Moving on to number 7, vague story. I kid you not, the only thing I understood about the story of Elden Ring during my first playthrough was there's a ring, someone broke the ring, and you're trying to be Elden Lord. And everything in the lands between is literally trying to past tense you. Don't burn Sidonius! Don't burn Sidonius! Please! Get your ass down here. Get your ass down here. Ooh, And I know I'm not the only one who was completely confused with the story. I mean, the story being so vague actually gave a rise to a lot of YouTube channels focused on understanding and dissecting the lore of Elden Ring. And yes, a vague story can inspire intrigue into trying to uncover the deep narrative layers, and Souls veterans likely knew that going into Elden Ring, but for new players to the genre, the story only added to the feeling of aimlessness and confusion. Number 6. Combat. Elden Ring has learned quite a bit from the previous Souls titles with regards to combat and actually innovated on that system. I mean, it even has a dedicated jump button which led to whole builds specifically with jumping in mind. And also, it even has one of my favorite mechanics actually, which is Ashes of War. You can literally transform your playstyle by infusing a non-somber weapon with various options of special attacks, buffs, and elemental damage. But then you run into a boss who vomits out ridiculously long combo strings or constantly fucks off into the sky out of reach. And when they eventually stop being stupid, you have an insultingly small window to attack before the circus show starts all over again. So those buffs that you had just before the fight,
And it's
gone. That heavy charged attack build, well, better have enough health to trade damage or you'll get acquainted with that death screen. And that cool Ash of War you centered your whole build around, better get comfortable using light attacks because you won't have enough time to recover before you get your face caved in. Elden Ring has an insane build diversity, but that becomes quickly redundant when you have bosses that whittle down combat to endless dodge rolls and occasional light attacks. At that point, it makes the combat experience more of a spectacle than actually fun or engaging. Number 5. The weapon upgrade flexibility. Stick with me on this one. So imagine you're starting your first playthrough with nothing but your starting weapon and the hope that everything you heard about the game was greatly exaggerated. Then after a while of getting your cheeks clapped by everything with a pulse, you then realize, hey, I could just use some of these smithing stones to upgrade the starter weapon to increase my survivability. But shortly after that, you find a cool new weapon with a cool new moveset that you like way better than your starter weapon. Then you realize, damn, I just used all my smithing stones on the starter weapon. So now your only alternative is to either just use the weaker new weapon and get pummeled again, or be forced to keep using the upgrade starter weapon until you can hopefully find more smithing stones or even the bell bearings. Now you tell me how either of those choices are fun.
Is this fun for you?
I mean, even Cyberpunk gave you the ability to break down a weapon for upgrade materials. Imagine how cool it would be to be able to recover the upgrade materials from your current weapon, then use that to upgrade the new weapon that you really want to try out. The game could even charge you runes to break down the weapons if it really wanted you to earn the upgrade. And yeah, I know veteran Souls players can pretty much finish the entire game without upgrading any weapon while having their eyelids stapled shut. But remember, this is in context of new players to the genre. Number 4. Invisible pathways and trap. Now, most of you know what trap I'm going to talk about. Yeah, it's the chest that you find early into the game in Limgrave. And at this point, you're likely very underleveled by the time this chest teleports you to a cave in Caelid. And not only is this cave filled with high damaging tanky enemies, including one of the most hated enemies, which shoot out multiple Spider-Man jizz projectiles that not only hit hard, but can actually track you. And look, I understand the point of having strong enemies like the Tree Sentinel and Margit in the early game. This is mainly to teach the new player, hey, you're not built like that, so go and explore and level up first. But what is the point of being trapped in a cave with these handsy-ditty disciples? And yes, I said trapped, because when you die, you don't get teleported to your previous side of grace. Oh no, you reappear right back in that stupid cave. So like any rational player, you try to use the map to try and fast travel out of the cave. Nope, blocked. So now you have no choice but to trial and error yourself out of the cave. And there's a side of grace near the entrance of the cave that you can rest at and fast travel out. But believe me, that's not what most pissed off panicking new players did. We hauled ass out of there to find out that, hell, we still couldn't fast travel when we got out of the cave.
No.
And to make matters worse, now you're trapped in this red hellscape called Caelid. And don't get me started on the illusory walls. They are so stupid. And it's not like the game is giving you some puzzle that you need to solve, then the wall open up. No, you just whack the wall and it disappears. So now you're just smacking random walls like a moron in hopes it might be an illusory wall. And even if it is, it's not like you get a feeling of accomplishment like solving a puzzle. You just spent your precious fleeting time on this planet just to commit battery on a wall. So calm your ass down. This is so obviously ridiculous that other players will even leave trick messages near shifty looking walls just so you can smack it for no reason. And yeah, they can't see that you smacked the wall for nothing, but you know you did. And now you feel stupid, and that's enough for them. And yeah, you can use like Margaret's shackle in like any cave or dungeon, and it'll remove any illusory walls. And you don't even have to be like close to the wall. And the shackle has like a huge area of effect. But again and again, it's not something you'd intuitively know as your first playthrough. Number 3, the clunky item and spell management. So you'd just think in a world where Witcher 3 exists, that slow scrolling to select a spell wouldn't be a thing. And as a new player, it completely baffled me as to why a quick item selection slot or wheel wasn't implemented in the game. A game that I might add has a crazy amount of spells and incantations. And yeah, granted, even Witcher 3 didn't have a quick item selection mechanic on launch, but even they saw that was trash and subsequently fixed it. So I feel like if this was added, this would make switching between multiple spells and incantations a lot smoother and engaging through combat. But as it stands now in Elden Ring, you kind of have to scroll through the spell you want to use. And if you panic and miss the spell you are trying to choose because pre-patch consort Radahn is making you doubt whatever deity you believe in, then you are screwed. Because you can't just scroll to the opposite direction and go to the required spell, but rather you have to keep scrolling through the whole list of spells that you have to only get back to the one you actually want to use. So you likely just end up selecting a few spells to not make the whole scrolling thing a headache. And at number 2, awkward camera angle and the lock-on system. So most of the things in the lands between that are trying to flatline you are usually bigger than the tarnished. And the camera tends to go tits up whenever you're fighting a large enemy, which can obstruct your view in combat. So much so that you can't even tell what attack is coming or where it's coming from, leading to one of the most annoying ways to die in Elden Ring, apart from dying from fall damage, of course. And another annoying thing is the inconsistencies with the lock-on feature. For example, some dragons you can lock onto either their legs, their body, or head, which makes the combat feel more flexible, giving you the option to easily target this fast-moving and hard-hitting target anywhere you want. But then, other dragons can only be targeted on the body. So if you want to target the parts of the dragon you can actually reach, like the legs, then you'd have to remove the lock-on and free aim your attacks. This makes combat feel super clunky, and I have no idea why this inconsistency even exists. And finally, at number 1, you know this was coming, difficulty. Now, this is not going to be a section about how this game is too hard, but rather focused more on the community-imposed difficulty. Honestly, I've never heard of the phrase, get good, until I played a Souls-like. In general, the Souls community is very helpful, patient, and chill, but damn, there's a creepy cult section of the community that just makes things a bit shite, especially for new players to the genre. Alright, so you beat the final boss and became Elden Lord? But did you beat the optional boss called Melania? Damn. Well then, I guess you didn't beat the game then. Oh, so you said you beat Consort Radahn. But you used the summons to do it? Yeah, then that doesn't count. Oh, you finally beat Mesmer without summons. Nice. But you used a Broken Bleed build, so that's the only reason you won. These people are super annoying and should actively be ignored. Look, play the game everywhere you find fun, because having fun is the only thing that matters. I mean, you paid for the game, screw them. Well, that's it from me, folks, but let me know if you agree or disagree with my points, or if you want to add anything else that might have sucked for you in your first playthrough. Also, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, then please like and subscribe and hype the video, whatever that means. Till next time, peace.